distinct pleasure of having Mr. Denzel Brown on our Sunday conversation with us here on Jamminsradio. Now, Mr. Brown is based up there in Canada and grew up out there in Jamaica. So we're going to talk. He's the founder and CEO of Liquid Mix Agitator. So this is a business that he started by himself. And, we just want to bring him on just to get an insight in terms of his business, what motivates him and all that stuff. Again, this is a very inspirational story. So we just want to bring him on and talk to him a little bit about what he does. Now, tell us a little bit about your background, Mr. Brown, Mr. Denzel Brown. Where in Jamaica did you grow up, and did you go to school out there, primary school and all that stuff out in Jamaica?
Well, I was born in Manchester, in Mandeville, and lived in Redberry, Porus, Ramble. And then I lived in Kingston for about 5 years with my grandmother. Went to Mountain View Public School there, or primary, I believe it was. And I migrated to Canada in 1971. I studied metal fabrication and welding, studied quality management, non-destructive testing at Sheridan, Mohawk, and Humber College.
Okay, very good. So you actually grew up was born in Jamaica. You grew up in the Mountain View region, right? You said you were born in Porus, but you grew up out there in East Kingston. What was that like for you there as a youngster running the streets out there in Kingston, man? Do you remember those stories, running the street playing marbles and all that?
Well, I was pretty young. I was only 10 when I was in Mountain View. I think I spent from 5 years old to 10 in Mountain View with my grandmother. But we grew up as an Adventist family, and we were under strict rules and regulations there. We didn't get very many opportunities to go very far. We were always at home. We had other siblings and cousins that we grew up with there. I think at one point there was about 13 of us there, so that was enough for us to keep each other company.
Okay, very good. So what was that like, though, with the adjustment from the Caribbean? You said at age 10 you moved to Canada. What was that adjustment like? Do you remember vaguely what that adjustment was like for you in terms of the weather and everything else? What was that like? Because we know that Canada is cold.
It wasn't just the cold. It was tough because it was like a culture shock. At 10 when I came, I started in Toronto. I think I was placed in grade 5 at that time, and I wasn't very far behind, but it just all that was expected of you. And then meeting other siblings here when you arrived in Canada and having to get to know them and adjust to them, it was quite a difficult time for me.
Okay, very good. Now we know that. You said you grew up in the church, so obviously you have a very solid background in terms of your desire to give back. What propelled you, in a sense? Do you find yourself giving back right now in terms of giving back to the community, whether in Toronto or back to Jamaica? Do you do a lot of that philanthropic work?
I still do. We locally here we give to a community college and a church, an Adventist church here actually. And then on my own, there's just hard to see situations where people are needing and not be able to give back. So we're still doing that, still doing it in Jamaica on a few fronts, not just in my community in which I grew up in, but there are other places across the island, from Montego Bay to Sav. So we're doing a few things there right now.
Okay, that's very good. By the way, everybody, we're talking to Mr. Denzel Brown. He's a philanthropist, founder and CEO of Liquid Mix Agitator. And we're speaking to him in our Sunday conversation here in Jamminsradio. Now, tell us about this company. You are the founder of this and CEO of Liquid Mix. Tell us about your company and how did it came about, forming that company? The name and everything.
The name of the company is called Liquid Mix Agitators, and we manufacture agitation equipment for food, pharmaceutical, pulp and paper, mining, oil and gas. So an agitator really is a large industrial mixer that will mix a liquid, such as maybe like Lasco, the liquid that you drink, or an orange juice, milk, anything that has to be, if you have two ingredients that needs to be combined, then that's the kind of equipment that we do. So we started about 9.5 years ago. We have about 12 employees here now, also some part-time contractors and engineer. And we manufacture side entry, top entry agitators, again, for specific industries like the mining industry and for pulp and paper. So that's what our main business is.
Okay, that's very good. Now, if I want to be a part of your company, what are some of the criteria that you look for? You know, since you're a small company, what are some of the things that you look for in terms of your potential employees?
Well, we're looking for exceptional talent, especially machinists. We have welders here, assemblers. You know, attitude along with talent and knowledge is key for it. Goes a long way. So if you're a machinist and you have a machinist license, whether or not you do, we're still looking for exceptional talent like that.
Yeah, that's very good. Now, what do you expect from your employees? You know, you hire them, you bring them in, you know, as a businessman, you look for their talent, they have the right attitude or they portray the right attitude during the interviews and all that stuff. But what do you expect from your employees when, you know, they come on board and become a part of your team?
Yeah, we expect excellence and a job well done. We expect an honest day's work. We're not looking for any sort of Herculean effort. Honesty is a big thing for us here. That's what we're looking for in an employee.
Okay, in your employee, honesty. Now, what do you do on a typical day though? Like, you know, you're the CEO and founder of Liquid Mix Agitator. What do you do, you know, on a typical day for you? Get up and do you set the schedule or, you know, go out there, get contracts? What do you do on a typical day for you?
Well, my role, I open every day at about 7:30. Make a daily schedule for the employees. We meet with the employees to go over what needs to be accomplished for that day. I do the banking. I meet with customers. And I run the shop, basically, so I schedule all the jobs that needs to go out. I also do the sales. I think I'm a pretty good salesman, and that's what I'd like to graduate into eventually, where I just do sales instead of running the shop. So right now, training someone else that can take over from my day-to-day running of the shop is what I'm aiming for. So I spend a lot of the time on the roads, going to see customers, vendors, making deals. That's what I do.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Is that exciting for you, though? I mean, when you get out there on the roads, you're presenting your project. I mean, you must be very proud when you get out there, you're presenting your product, your ideas to all these different people out there, these potential, you know, customers, you know. That, how do you feel about that? Like getting out on the road, presenting your idea, knowing that you're the CEO and founder of this company that you're actually trying to sell?
I honestly quietly go about my business. I do it without fanfare and without show, but I love what I do. And being out there and closing a proposal is like one of the best things, greatest things for me. I love to do sales. So eventually I know that I'm going to end up in just that role. I love to travel, so before COVID, I'm maybe 3-4 times a month. I was always on the road on an airplane somewhere from just about every state in the United States to Jamaica, or we sell our product worldwide. So I'm always gone somewhere.
Okay, that's very good. Now, you mentioned you travel a lot. What are some of your favorite places to travel? Or what are some of the places that you travel? You mentioned Jamaica. Where else do you go? I know you probably come to the States here, the United States, and so forth. What are some of the places that you do try to travel and where you do have vendors and customers?
Well, again, it's a mix of both business and pleasure. So I've been to Spain and Amsterdam, England, all parts of Canada, every province here, and just about every state in the United States. So we have customers everywhere.
That's very good. That's very good. Now, what is that one thing that you would say you would probably like to change about your company? You know, because right now, again, you're doing pretty good. But one of the things that you would say change about your company right now?
Well, I would like to merge the two units that we have. We have two separate units. They're about 3 hours apart, and I'm in the process of trying to merge both units together into one space. And secondly, I'd like to get to more state-of-the-art equipment, such as CNC, lathes and mill, to try to be more efficient. So we're looking towards new machinery and putting them in the one space to become a lot more effective in marketplace.
Okay, that's very good. Yeah, by the way, everybody, we're talking to Mr. Denzel Brown, all the way from Canada, up there in Toronto, Canada. He's hanging out with us here in our Sunday conversation. And we're just talking to him about his business. And again, he was born in Jamaica, grew up in Canada, and we're just trying to get a feel of his business and the man himself, Mr. Brown. Now, what are you most proud of? And I think I've asked you this, but I want you to expand on it a little bit, though. What are you most proud of regarding the company itself? I know that this is your brainchild. You put it together, and here you are. What are you most proud about that, regarding your company?
Well, we're a small company, and I think that we've grown and become very well known in the marketplace. We produce a very good product. I think we're priced right. And I'm proud of mostly the efforts of my employees, because machines don't really do all the work. It's employees that program machines and run machines to make a product or to make a company. But most of all, I believe that I'm proud of the employees that I have. They understand the plan, and we all work towards the common goal.
Yeah, that's very good. Now, when did you start this company, you said? 9 years ago?
We started about 9.5 years ago. We started.
Okay, that's very good. Now, we know that as a businessman out there, you have to secure these contracts and these proposals and all that. Do you work with a lot of government agency, or do you work with, corporations rather than government? Do you have a preference in terms of government or working with anybody or another company?
We do both. We do both. We work with the city. We do their wastewater treatment, repair of their pumps and valves. So we have a mix of both government and corporations that we actually do work with. Government contracts are usually very technical. It requires a lot of adherence to specifications. So, yeah, we do both government and corporations.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, I know that you have seen some government contracts, and you're right. They're very specific and and very detailed. And, when it comes to getting paid and all that stuff, it has to be directly towards the specification. You're absolutely right. So
you're correct.
I do understand that. Now, what's your main objective, though, or what's your main goal here for your company? You want to expand, conquer the world? I mean, what's the goal for your company? What's the goal for your company?
Well, I wouldn't say I want to conquer the world, but I want to continue manufacturing excellent products for the marketplace, grow the company, hire quality people. I'd like to see our sales increase or at some point double. But then again, that also takes hard work. So that's my main objective, really, just to continue making good quality products for the marketplace.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Now, we know that you could probably go out there with the skill sets that you've acquired over the years to work for somebody else, but you choose to work for your own self in terms of you forming your own company. And again, I must commend you on that, because a lot of people out there, we have great ideas. Oh, I want to do this. I want to form my own business, whether it's hairdressing, whether it's this, whether it's that. But we just never, have that drive or that, or that impetus to get out there and do it. And here you are, you actually went out there and you formed your own company. What are some of the positive and negatives, man, to forming your own company, Is it the fact that long hours, or what are some of the positive and negatives for you?
Well, it's hard work, no doubt about it, and every day is a challenge. There are long hours, but in the end, it's actually quite satisfying and rewarding to work for yourself. It includes or requires surrounding yourself with good people and good talent, and be prepared to work hard.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Good people, man. You need good people around you when you're trying to build something.
Yeah, absolutely need that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, what advice would you give to an individual who, say, wants to start their own company? Again, people, we all have the desire to conquer the world. We want to do great things, and yet years goes by and we do nothing. What advice would you say, give to an individual who wants to start their own company?
To start your own company, I in my opinion, you have to first know your stuff and have the desire to not. It's not just about making money. It's about working hard first of all. Again, I mentioned surrounding yourself with good talent. There will be long hours and many challenges that you have to go through, but again, perseverance, tenacity. These are some of the key points in which you have to find yourself and find in other people that have yours or exercise your vision and want to help you to accomplish your goal. So if you want to start your own business, the first thing I would want to say is that you need to surround yourself with good talent to be prepared to work. And then in the end, you'll see the rewards.
Yeah, that's very good. One other thing that come to my mind, though, is that if I do decide to start my own company, and you mentioned this too, that you have to know your stuff, so whatever you're doing, if you want to become, say, a hairdresser, you need to know how to do hair inside out.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you concur with that you need to definitely know your stuff in terms of the, the product that you're looking to sell?
I do. You have to know every angle of what you're doing and who your competition is, where you can get help. I also think that managing people is one of the great skills or assets that you have to somehow find. And if you don't know how to do that, there are courses out there that you can learn how to do, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. So then recognizing again that it's not machines that are your greatest assets. It's actually people.
Right.
So
that's
what I would say.
Yeah, that's very good, man. I mean, I'm just listening to you again. We haven't spoken till just now. Yeah, just to let everybody know. And I'm listening to you, and I can see the passion and the genuineness and the desire to succeed just by talking to you. I can feel that coming through our conversation here. But where do you see your company in the next 10 years? I mean, I know you said right now you have about 12 or so employees. You're looking to expand sales. We know that Corona now has sort of put a damper on things a little bit, but I'm sure that's going to turn around. But where do you see yourself in your company in the next 10 years or so?
Well, I would like to see us grow where we can actually double our sales and continue to give back. We have a couple ideas that we want to do, not just on the North American continent, but we had a meeting on Friday, and we're looking at doing something on the African continent. In the next 10 years, I'd like to see us start or contribute black men or young boys and young women who we can help to accomplish their goals So we want to continue with the scholarship and probably even develop another one. Right now, I believe that Ms. Wright may have been in contact with you about a scholarship fund that we started in her community. So we want to continue with that and maybe even improve it where it's maybe 3 times as much as what we're putting into it now, and move on to some other areas of the island. This is Jamaica I'm talking about now, to do other things there.
Yeah, very good. And that brings me back to, again, the the philanthropic end of things, where you want to give back. And again, we talked about this, briefly, but just to, I just want to revisit that point about giving back. We know that, you mentioned that you're a Seventh-day Adventist, worshiper or parishioner.
Well, that's what I grew up as.
You grew up as that, okay. Now, again, I'll ask it again, how important is giving back, though? Because you mentioned their scholarship. How important is giving back? Because, in my eyes, you seem blessed to be able to start your own company, travel the world. How important is giving back to you?
Well, I watched my mother, Melita, my greatest example. She was a great humanitarian. She was always doing good. And then my father, Headley, who taught me a trade, and I watched him, train so many TIG welders and send them out into the industry. So I'm proud of that. And then again, it's after my mother passed away, the idea came to me about trying to start a scholarship in her name and my stepfather's name. So it's CM King, which is Cyrus and Melita King. But long before that, probably the first award was about 5 years ago at Mrs. Wright's school in Ramble. They were the first beneficiary and recipients of that. But even before that, her and I, we were doing some projects where we were actually doing, giving tablets to the exceptional students there. There was a small fund attached to it, and then about 2 years ago, we made it official where we began the scholarship fund. So I have to give a lot of credit to my consultant, Marcia, and also Miss Wright, who made it possible. When you start something like this, you just don't go up to a school and say, we want to give you money. There's a lot of hidden things involved where you have to meet certain criteria and you have to get special permission to do certain things. Mm-hmm. So imagine that people's always there wondering what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. But like I said, I prefer to just quietly go about my business without fanfare, mm-hmm. And just continue doing something, doing good.
Oh, wow, that's very good. By the way, everybody, we're hanging out here with Mr. Denzel Brown. He's a Jamaican based up there in Canada. He's the founder and CEO of Liquid Mix Agitator. Is worldwide. And again, we're just talking about his accomplishments, some of the stuff that he has achieved, including giving back to the poorest community out there in Manchester. Now, we know, again, we know that you have accomplished so much here, Mr. Brown, in terms of, again, coming from Jamaica, going up to Canada, forming your own business. Would you have done anything differently? Looking back at your journey right now, would you have done anything differently in terms of, do you regret forming this business? Would you have gone into, say, maybe other areas? Is this your gift in terms of, doing what you're doing right now?
If I'd listened to my mom, I'd probably be a doctor today. But I realize now that I was born to be doing what I'm doing right now. I was meant to be a metal fabricator, a welder. It's what I love to do. I found my calling, and following my mother's example, where she's always given back. But again, I think starting from home with family, that's the best thing to do. They say that you have to, how's it now, dance at home before you dance abroad.
Right.
So I just think that there are people within your own family that needs help, and you can choose to help locally before you go overseas. But my focus right now is the people in Jamaica, in my own community first, and in a few other communities, as I mentioned, in Montego Bay and Westmoreland.
Yeah, that's very good. Yes, by the way, everybody, we're talking to Mr. Denzel Brown up there in Canada. Now, you know what? I've tortured you enough. Anything else you want to share with us, in terms of any final words or, your religious beliefs or anything you want to share with us?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, again, speaking directly to the young people, I think one point that I really like to make is it's so important to know who you are and to what extent your thoughts and your actions will take you. Mm-hmm. I think for me, in my opinion, that's the greatest thing. Just knowing who you are, what you want to do, and finding it early, going after it with a passion, being honest, working hard, and again, the rewards are just endless in the long run.
Right. Well, you know what? This was this was great, man. This was great talking to you, Mr. Brown, Mr. Denzel Brown. And what have I learned from you? Because I'm sitting here, I haven't met you. I'm talking to you for the first time, and what I've learned from you is that here you have a young man, came from Jamaica, went up to Canada, put his head to the wheels, formed his own company, employed 12 people, doing great, get a chance to travel the world, and at the same time, not selfish enough to keep it to herself, but to give back in terms of scholarships and other philanthropic work. So again, I think that's the Mr. Brown. Am I correct in summarizing you, sir?
Yes, you're perfect.
Okay, very good. Well, you know what? I have no more questions for you, sir. But all I can say, it's, I'm very proud of you too in terms of what you're doing, and again, to make something of yourself. Now, one more thing though, and I'm from Jamaica too, where my mother wanted me to become a doctor too. So I don't know what's going on with Jamaican mothers and doctors. You see what I'm saying? I always tell my mother, I don't like the sight of blood, so you won't catch me doing medicine, But what have you learned though in terms of the traditional route? Because people always say, for you to be successful, you have to go become a lawyer, doctor, engineer, But here you are, you took that non-traditional approach where you actually learned a skill and was able to use that skill to parlay into forming your own business. What's your take on one size doesn't necessarily fit all, where you don't have to go that traditional route to be successful? What's your take on that?
Oh, well, everyone can't be a doctor or a lawyer. There's a place and a need for them all. But, the traditional trades, plumber, plumbing, carpentry, welders, machinists, whatever other trades and tech there is, not everyone can be a computer technician either. There's so many people going into that field. Computers won't build houses. Yes, you can design houses with computers, but you need tradespeople to do all these things. And I encourage young women, to get into these non-traditional trades also. There's a lot of money to be made, and you can sustain yourself and your family learning a trade and carrying it out. So I wouldn't say that everyone needs to run towards being lawyers and doctors. And there's a great need for tradespeople all over the world. I think right now there's a lot of baby boomers like my dad who's retiring, and Canada on its own has a need for skilled and technical people, tradespeople.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very good. Well, Mr. Brown, thank you so much for coming on. Any final words? I know I asked that, but anybody you want to pick up out there before you go? Any final words, or anybody you want to say hello to before you go?
Well, everyone in the community of Ramble, Redbury, Porus, Manchester on the whole, Mandeville is where I'm from. But Miss Wright has been, and her principal has been a great help for me to be able to carry out what I really wanted to do in terms of helping the community in which from which I came. And then again, as I mentioned, my consultant, Marcia, who's helped tremendously. Again, her efforts, I'd like to commend her for all that she did. And then my dad, who taught me a trade, and my mom, who set an example for me that I'd want to follow in her footsteps to try to help everyone that I can.
Okay, that's very good. That's very good. Well, again, thank you so much, Mr. Denzel Brown, for coming on and sharing your insight with us here on Jamminsradio. I really appreciate that, all right? We'll talk soon, all right?
Thank you, Professor. Appreciate you, too. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Well, have a blessed day, sir. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. By the way, everybody, that's Mr. Denzel Brown. He's an entrepreneur up there in Canada. He's the founder and CEO of Liquid Mix Agitator, a company up there in Canada. He has 12 employees. He formed this company about 9.5 years ago, and they're doing pretty well up there. And he grew up out there he was born in the Redberry district out there in Manchester. Grew up a little bit in Kingston before he migrated to the to Canada. And got his schooling up there in Canada. His father taught him the skill, of welding and all that stuff. He was able to parlay that into getting some good stuff done to the point where he formed his own company. Now he's employing people and doing pretty good, travel the world. And again, the thing what I like about this is the fact that he gives back to the community. Because sometimes, you know what, we reach a certain height where we accomplish a lot, but we don't give back. And I always say that we are blessed to be a blessing to somebody else. So sometimes when you have it, you bless somebody else. And here he is, he's setting up scholarship, and helping, provide tablets and, computer tablets and stuff for the kids down there in that area that he grew up in. And, just moving along in terms of helping the community and giving back. So I like what he's doing there. So again, Mr. Denzel Brown, thank you so much for coming on Jamminsradio with us, sharing your insight, sharing your experience with us. And that's what it's all about. Here at Jamminsradio, we entertain, inform, and educate. Because again, your story, the story that you're writing now, I'm sure someday will continue to inspire others. So again, we have to remember, or we have to ask ourselves, what story am I writing? And again, I applaud you for your accomplishment so far, and I'm sure you're going to continue to achieve and excel in your business and continue to give back. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Brown, Denzel Brown, for coming on Jamminsradio and sharing with us. We really appreciate